Dear Chabura, Kol HaTorah Kula Live, welcome, good afternoon, as we launch into a new series of halachas, the halachas in which the Rambam describes the brachos, how we bless the Eibishter. There are three types of brachos. One is birkas hana, when one is going to enjoy something. There's birkas shevach and haidah, praising the Eibishter, like goimel and the like. And there's birkas mitzvahs. Before we begin a mitzvah, we thank the Eibishter for this opportunity. And they are instituted as part of Sefer Ava, where the goal is to note all those mitzvahs the Eibishter placed in order that we remember our love for him. This bracha is this reminds us everything one does that is rooted in the Eibishter. The Eibishter is the one that granted it to us, and we acknowledge that. Zog the Rambam, Hilchas brachas, the laws of blessings of brachas. Mitzvah say achas, it's one biblical command, and it's rooted in Torah. V'levarach Hashem HaGadol v'Hanoira Akva Kadosh. Achar achila. The mitzvah is to bless the great and holy and also name of the Eibishter after concluding a meal. This is Minat Torah. Obeir mitzvah b'brakim elu. Explanation of this mitzvah. This mitzvah is going to be in the following bracha. Halacha Aleph of Perek Aleph. Mitzvah say Minat Torah. The positive commandment of Torah is lebarach achar achilas mazayin, to bless after concluding a meal, that a person is satiated. He's full. When you eat and you're full, you will bless the Eibishter your God. However, biblically, you're only obligated if you are full. If you're full, satiated. However, rabbinically, even if you ate just the size of an olive, which is a half of an egg, you make a bracha after bracha. Now this is min haTorah, and the nafkamina min haTorah, as we know, safek brachas is l'chumra, is l'kula. If you have a safek, if you made a pre bracha or after bracha for any food, you don't make another bracha. Safek brachas lahakel, unless it's the bracha min haTorah, which is birkas hamazon. See it inside. U'midivrei soifrim, chachamim have added to this one the deraisa bracha, which is after a person finished an entire meal. He says, to make a bracha, first of all, not only after a meal, after any food that we ate, before any food that you eat, only afterwards you'll derive enjoyment from it. Even if your plan is not to eat a kazayis, your plan is to eat just a little bit, or at least just calls you to drink a little bit. First you make the bracha, and only afterwards you enjoy. Not only food and drink, you're about to smell a good smell. You first make the bracha, and then only afterwards you enjoy. Chacham have told us if you enjoy without making a bracha mal, it's as if you are benefiting from hegdish, consecrated objects, without the permission of the Eibishter. Because that's in Lashem Arasam, it all belongs to the Eibishter, and you didn't have permission to eat it unless you make the bracha, which is redeems it, so to speak, gives you that pass. The same deal is in rabbinic nature. That after anything that you eat and drink, not only a meal, you're chayiv. However, this does have an amount, a minimum. You have to drink at least the revi'is haloig, a quarter of a loig. Or in terms of eating, that was in terms of drinking, the size of a kazayis. If you're just tasting it, if it's good, you're in the kitchen, and your intention is not to eat. You're not eating because you're hungry. You're just tasting to know if it's good. That doesn't, regardless of how much you ate, it doesn't require bracha. Not before and not after. Add revi'is until a revi'is. Once you hit a revi'is, then. Halacha Gimel. Just as we have explained, you have to bless and thank the Eibishter for enjoyments in the same vein. We also thank the Eibishter for every mitzvah we have the schus to fulfill. And only afterwards, it's called Oiver Lasiyasam. First you make the bracha, and then afterwards you do the mitzvah, like tefillin, like tzitzis. Brachos Rabbis Tiknu Chacham derech shevach derech bakasha. There's many brachas. This is the third type that Chachamim instituted in a way of praising the Eibishter, thanking the Eibishter, or requesting davening from the Eibishter. Kedei liskar is a boyre tamid. The intention is continuously to remember the Eibishter, even if currently you did not do a mitzvah or you did not enjoy anything. Kel over Rachman, I'm whole about his brachas. You're praising the Eibishter. Halacha dal. Nimtzu kol brachas kulon shloisha minim. There are 3 types of brachas in summation. Birkas hanoya, enjoyment brachas. Birkas mitzvahs, blessing over mitzvah. Birkas haidah, and praising brachas. Shein derech shevach v'hidaya. You're thanking and praising, singing to the Eibishter bakasha, and also requesting of him. Now, this is all kedei liskar bar tamim liyiram imenu. It is to continuously remember the Eibishter and fear him. Zok the Rambam halacha dal. Nimtzu kol brachas. Oh, said that already. Sorry. Halacha hey. V'nusach kol brachas. Who minted the exact nusach? It's called minted. Matbei shetavu chachamim. They, so to speak, imprinted this exact nusach, and you have to stick to it. We'll soon see what is the ikar that chacham instituted, but it has to be kept to and adhere to that exact nusach. So this comes from Ezra Beis Dina. Before Ezra ben Nehemiah were the ones that they started the Anshe Knesset Gdoila, the Sanhedrin at the beginning of Bayis Sheni. They brought Yidden back from Golos, the 70 years of Golos, back to Eretz Yisrael. So it is not appropriate and not befitting to change them, not to add anything, or not to diminish. Anyone that changes the minted nusach, the exact wording the Chachamim have established in regard to brachas, he is mistaken. Not so in regards to tefillah. A person can, again, providing that he's davening the proper way and he's using the right lashon and it's stimmt. A bracha, it has to be exact, and if he does, he's mistaken. V'chol bracha, what will invalidate the bracha? V'chol bracha she'ein b'haskaras Hashem u'malchus ein bracha. If it doesn't have mentioning the Eibishter's name and referring to the Eibishter as king, so it doesn't have, and it's also the word baruch. Ein bracha is not a bracha. Elam kein smucha lechaverta, unless it is close to a different bracha. We have this by Birkas Hamazon. You have the Baruch Atah Hashem L'keinu V'chol Ma'azanus Ha'olam, and then you have Noidilcha V'ala Koil that doesn't start Baruch Atah Hashem. It's considered Smucha L'chaverta. It's relying on the beginning of the first bracha. V'chol brachas Nemarim B'chol Lashon. All brachas can be said in any language. Hushiyemer, providing that he says Ke'ein Shtik Chachamim in the same way that Chachamim have established it. V'imshina Samatbeya, if he changed the Nusach HaBracha again, providing it has the anchors of Hoil ve'hisker askara. He mentioned Abish's name, Malchus, and the Inyan bracha, the context on which the bracha will be made. I feel even if he did it in a different language. Yatza, he is yaitze, so holds the obligation to make a bracha. Now, the rabbinic obligation. Halacha zayin. Kol brachas kol, all of them. The din is tzarich lashmiya la'oznai mashu omer. You have to be able to hear yourself saying the bracha. V'im lo yishmiya la'oznai. This is l'chatchila. That is best case scenario. If you whether you actually verbalized it and you heard it, or it was just in your heart. Kol brachas kulon, and the blessing and doing the thing he's blessing for. For example, made a bar pri adam, you have to eat it right away. You make birkas mitzvahs. Al natilas lulav, you have to do the lulav. You're not allowed to stop in the middle. If you did make that separation, you busy yourself with other things. You have to make again a bracha. However, if you taka did separate, you taka got yourself busy with something else, but it's not completely else. It's in the context of what you made the bracha for. You don't have to make another bracha on the Ram. We'll give us an example. Ketzad, for example, you made a bracha amaitzi lechem in haaretz over bread. But before you started eating, Amar haviu melech. And where's salt with our fine tunkin? Or haviu tafshil, and bring to the table the soda. We could see what we're being moitzi with this pass for the whole soda. Tnula pleni lecha, that person's great, and then he says, no, laima, Shnu Michael Behema, which Yidden make sure to feed their animals before. It's a hefsek, but it's not a hefsek outside of the context of what he's making the bracha. In that case, he does not need to make another bracha. Anything similar. Now, halacha, we have a whole nusach. It's called ni, nu, na. Everybody understands what you want. It's a whole language. Okay, and still you only make another bracha because they understand this like as the tatavert naves. Shabbos by night, the person is ungetzeigen, now is an ungetzeigen, and it's a special time. We cover the challah shalayira boishtei. The bread shouldn't see that you're makdim, even though the bread is the staple by the soda. Shouldn't see how you're making before it the bracha on agafen. I heard Grace Eden saying that vayish zayin andere by the tish can't be bevayish the challah. It's a very ungetzeigen tzeit Yidden on Friday night, so you have to be very, very makbid. There's a stressful Friday, you know. Okay. Halacha tes. Kol habrachas. Kulam. Mutal tamul barachaysan. Even if you are spiritually impure, you're still allowed to make the bracha. Whether it's a lighter form of tumah, which in that day you could just go toivel, dip in the mikveh, and you'll get rid of that tumah. Or it's a tumah that you cannot get rid of on that day. Let's say it's mechusik kippurim, you need a carbon to get rid of it, or it's tamei meis, and you need hazar shlishi v'shvi, and then afterwards. But still, you're allowed to make the brachas. However, that is spiritual impurity. Physical impurity, which is, for example, his nakedness is uncovered. You're not allowed to make the bracha until his nakedness is covered. But in which case is a person not allowed to make a bracha if, so to speak, his nakedness is uncovered by a man. I will be isha, a woman, when she's sitting, her nakedness is facing downward, and it's considered covered, and she's allowed to make a bracha. Allah yud. Kol brachas kul on all the brachas. I will be shebeirach biyatzi dechav. Also, even if he made the bracha and he's ready for his obligation, mutal levarach lachenim. He's allowed to remake the bracha, and it's not called the bracha batal because he is already fulfilled his obligation. He's allowed to do it in order to help others fulfill their obligation. So he's doing it on their behalf. Chutz mibirkas hana she'ein b'mitzvah. The only case that one is not allowed to make a hana'ah bracha, for example, in a case that there's no mitzvah associated with it, you're not allowed to be might see someone else if you're not eating it. If you're eating also, then you can make a shahakal and they might see other people as well. In a case they don't know the bracha or shliach, people don't know what hit them. But if you're not eating with them, then the only case you're allowed to make the bracha and we might see them is if it's connected to a mitzvah, like Boi Pri Agafen of Kiddush, for example. Aside from Birks Hana that is not going alongside a mitzvah. In which case you're not allowed to make a bracha for others, unless you're going to be eating with them. If you're making a bracha, taka on food, it's a Birks Hana. However, it comes together with mitzvah. Going, for example, on Pesach by night, you make a hamaitzi and alchels matzah on a matzah. The kiddush hayoim every Shabbos. You make a kiddush for them, and you make a hagafen, you're allowed to make the whole bracha, even if you are not going to be eating with them, period. Like many shlochim do. They go to make a seder, and they, obviously by this darim, the gebraks is the smallest of our worries, and but the shliach, for his own standard, is not going to eat gebraks as so he's not going to eat with them. He's allowed to make alachil's matzah just for them, even though it's achil birkas hana, but because it's yeshim mitzvah, as the Rambam just described. Halacha yud aleph. And now we're moving on to amen, your power to confirm and to kivyachol validate someone else's blessing and praise of the Eibishter. Kol shemei brachim and brachas. Anyone that hears any of the brachas from the beginning, from beginning to end, and sorry, we didn't get to. And his intention is to fulfill his obligation himself as well. Yatsa, you don't even need to answer amen. Even if you didn't answer amen, my intention is to be yatsa. You know, there's a huge Alter Rebbe over here. The ganze Welt kocht sich. The Alter Rebbe is makbid that when the Chazan says the bracha of Asher Gishon says al Sfiras HaOmer, people should not answer amen, because if they answer amen, or if they don't have the feirush kavanah that they don't want to be yaitza, it's a suffix if they're allowed to make the bracha afterwards. Big chiddush. But the vart here is that be'etzem, even without, if you didn't have that intention that you're not being yaitza, that's a chiddush. That's the Alter Rebbe's vart. But what the Rambam is saying is, if you had in mind that you want to fulfill your obligation, even if you didn't say amen, amen is far more powerful than that. Amen makes it as if you were the one that made the bracha. As if you made the bracha. The who, however, providing she a bracha. When can it be as if you made the bracha, or he can help you fulfill the obligation and exempt you from from making a bracha. That's if you have the same level of responsibility for the bracha. For example, if you both are chayiv to in this mitzvah, but if he already fulfilled his obligation minat Torah, he's only chayiv derabanan, for example, and you're still chayiv minat Torah, he can't be moitzi you. And the famous example for this is the Alter Rebbe in his Nusach, it's famous part. The Alter Rebbe in his Nusach, he says, Lahadlik ner shel Shabbos kodesh. When women light Shabbos candles, he added the word kodesh. Why does he add the word kodesh? Lahadlik ner shel Shabbos. Many nuschos, most nuschos are lahadlik ner Shabbos. And what's explained is that be'etzam in Torah, you're chayiv you're chayiv to be mekabel Shabbos b'dibur. Chachamim instituted kacheu ala yain. You should sanctify Shabbos on a kois. Now, Shabbos by night, the men daven in shul, so they have already been yoytze the deraisa, and they come home and they're making kiddush ala kois. They're only chayiv derabanan. But sometimes the women didn't daven. They don't have the chiyuv of davening ma'ariv. And Memela, he's chayiv derabanan. He can't be moitzi them that they have a chiyuv deraisa to be mekabel Shabbos, and therefore by saying La'adlik ner shel Shabbos kodesh, they have sanctified Shabbos biblically. They've been yoytze the deraisa. And in that case, they're both on the same level. That's the Alter was talking. The Rambam was talking about. They have to be on the same level. So he says, if the person that's making the bracha, in this case, the husband that's making kiddush, is chayiv only d'Rabbanan, and the one that's answering is chayiv min HaTorah, like the woman, if she didn't say kodesh, lo yotzi dechavasi, has not fulfilled in this case, she has not fulfilled her obligation. Ad sheyana or ad sheyishma mipi. Until you hear from someone that is obligated minatayra on the same level as you. Now, and here's a unique din in regards to the staples of Seudah. The staples and the king of the world of food is bread, lechem levavenesh yisad, and yain, yisamach levavenesh. Yain is the king of wine. So wine can be poiter all the drinks, and bread is poiter the whole Seudah, the food, the drink, everything. So if you're sitting down and they're sitting down to eat bread or to drink wine together, one person made the bracha and everyone answered amen, it's as if they all made the bracha. They're good to go. In whether it's bread or wine, they're allowed to eat and drink. In the case of wine and bread, if they did not have that intention to eat together, each one came with their own sandwich, they're sitting by themselves. Even if at the end they do eat from the same bread, but they didn't sit down, plan to eat in the same meal. Each one has to make his own bracha. Now this din is unique to wine and bread. Specifically wine and bread. Any other types of food and drink, they do not require recline. Recline means they're gathering together specifically for this meal. So they're sitting down, they're not planning to eat together. This happened at Bachram in Yeshiva, right? It's in the year of Shemitah. So there was a tree on the way down from the Teres Amas, from the Yirmiyahu on the top, going down to Chov Chana, going down to Shikon Chabad. So on the way there was a tree of Shesek and Shemitah. It's mutter. So people would sit under the tree and eat. A whole bunch of Bachram there would come and eat. And you're sitting over there. They didn't come to eat together. If one person would get up and make a bracha, you don't need them to have kavanah. We're eating together. They're all yaitza in Indian. And we don't want to bench Meir brachas. So, yeah. Anyone that hears a yid making any of the brachas, even if you didn't hear it from the beginning till the end, and even if you're not obligated, you are mukhrach, you're chayiv, you're obligated to answer amen. This shows that you're not excluding yourself from the rule. You're accepting, you're joining together with him. You're confirming that you also believe in what he's saying, and therefore, when we said you need to hear the entire bracha at the beginning, then that's for it to be moitzi you, but not but for the chiyuv to answer amen. always. The imayam mevarich akum. If it's a goy, a yapikoiris, a kuti, it's a goy from the city of Kutos, on Cheir Broton Heitzal, oi tina kamislam, there it's a child that's practicing how to make brachas, a shayr gadol, or it's a gadol, but he's doing something wrong. He changed the nusach bracha. Ein ein nachreim amen. We do not respond amen because again, you're not ready to sign off what this guy's saying. This guy is saying he's not thinking about the Eibishter. You don't want to say amen and confirm his blessing to his deity. And or this person that's saying a bracha wrong and the like. Halacha yidal. Kol amen. When answering amen, there are halachas how to go about it. Loy amen chatufa, not gechapta amen before the guy even finished. And v'loy amen ktufa, which is separate. It's not connected to the bracha. V'loy amen ktsar, you should answer it very quickly. V'loy yerok, you shouldn't stretch. Amen. Elo amen beit is middle size. V'loy yagbia kol yisrael baruch, do not raise your voice higher than the tone of the person making the bracha. If someone did not hear the bracha that he's obligated to, if you need to make the same bracha, don't answer amen, which will seem like you're being yaitza. Rather, you should make your own bracha. Now, halacha tasvav. If you're making a bracha that was not necessary, here comes the double-edged sword. As much as we want you to bless the Eibishter, you got to be very careful with the Eibishter's name, because you're signing with the Gushpanka de Malka, the seal of the king. You're supposed to be raising or saying the Eibishter's name in vain. It's as severe and as stringent as the person that swears falsely or for no reason, in vain. First of all, you're not allowed to make amen after it, because you're joining this abomination. One is allowed to teach a child to make brachas properly and how he should say it with a proper kavanah, even if he's going to be saying the same word twice. There's not chayiv in it teaching him. And if it's time of learning, that's appropriate and that's mutter. Amen, as we said, one does not answer amen. And obviously, if you did answer amen, being that they're not obligated in mitzvahs, period, you don't fulfill your obligation. Now, anyone that answers brachas answers amen after his own bracha. Harezim meguna, that's not very. It's frowned upon. He's confirming his own bracha as well. However, if there's a whole series of brachas that concludes a series of brachas, for example, Baina Brachma Yerushalayim Amen, that concludes the night that we described, that they're all relying on the first bracha, the Baruch Hashem, the Pesicha, and so he answers amen. So in that case, it shows that you concluded a whole series. Amen. We say there's some that conclude amen themselves. They say it because you're concluding the brachas that are associated with Krishma, and in Krishma also they're relying on the bracha, right? Yotzer Oir, the brachas, that's by day, but the second Abbas Olam is relying also on the bracha, the first one. Okay. Any series of brachas, you can make a bracha after your own bracha. Amen after your bracha. Halacha Yudzayin. V'lomay yana amen acher b'yne berachama v'arecher of birkas hateva meitiv. Klotz kasha. B'yne berachama Yerushalayim. We said you answer amen because it's concluding a series. 1 second, it's not the series. The series ends with the bracha afterwards. There's hateva meitiv, right? Okay, lavinu makina dereinu berinu. This was instituted afterwards. Really, the brachas menatayra that nusach that Moshe and Yeshua were metakin, that was earlier. That is the series, concluding the real series of brachas. He just has al sevi ikra brachas. He of Birkas Hamazon. He by Yerushalayim. V'lamol yana amen acher avas olam. Why don't you make the bracha after the pre-brachas before Krishma? Why do we do it only after you concluding also the after brachas of Krishma before someone has to say So he says the reason is because we don't want to make, if you would say amen before the Birkas Krishma, you would be making a hefsek between the bracha on Krishma and Krishma itself. We said already, don't make a hefsek between the bracha and actually doing it. So therefore, when you conclude the series, is after you finish the two brachas after Krishma. And not the brachas before Krishma, which also concludes the series, but then you're going to be making a hefsek between the bracha and the mitzvah. Similar to the fact that we don't say amen before Kriyas HaMegillah, that's three brachas also, and you don't say amen after you finish that series of brachas before reading the Megillah, because you don't want to make a hefsek between the Brachos Megillah or the Halachas Ner Chanukah. Halacha Yudches. V'lo molyana amen achar Brachos HaPeiros v'kayetze ba. If you're making a bracha on Peiros, why don't you make a amen on it, your own? Mipnei shi bracha achas vein einin amen ela achar bracha achroino. Okay, shekadma oisa bracha acheres. So it's not after every bracha. You do it when you're doing a series of brachas that and you want to show you concluded the series. But if it's just one bracha, you don't say an amen afterwards. That's meguna to confirm your own bracha. What's beautiful is when you showing you finish the whole series of blessing the Eibishter. Brachos kigoyin. He brings example. When is there a series of brachos that each one could even have its own baruch? As Birkas Hamelach they would do on Yom Kippur. 7 brachas they did. The Birkas Kohen Gadol, which is in Hakel. So in these cases, you make a amen after you finish the whole series of a whole group cluster of brachas. And therefore, you're notifying and you're indicating that you completed all the brachas, and that's why you're answering amen. Halacha yotes. If you're eating something that's prohibited, so this is abomination, and therefore don't make a bracha on it. Bein bezadim, whether you're doing it intentionally, bein bishgaga, even if it's by mistake, einim bevarach alav. Loy betchila, you don't make a four bracha. Veloy basayif, and not an after bracha. V'ketzad, for example, hareisha achal tevel shel devreim. Even if you're eating tevel, something that didn't get maisris, that should be taken the rabbanon. Oy sha'achal ma'aser rishon, shaloy netur trumaisa. You're eating ma'aser rishon that you didn't take truma from. Okay, when you after there's miruach bekri, we'll get to it in Sefer Zeraim. After you concluded the process of, let's say, threshing, they would gather together all the kernels in the threshing ground and prepare it. Like they finished once that stage of preparation. At that point, it becomes chayiv in trumas, and then you have to take ein yafa, ein beinis, ein ra. You have to give a certain portion to the kohen, and then you take a tithing for the Levi. And then you take that's Meiser Rishon, the first tithing, and the second tithing is a Meiser Sheni, that you take some years it goes to Aniyim, some years you take it together with you to Yerushalayim and you eat. So he eats Meiser Rishon that you didn't take Truma from. You took the Levi's eating Meiser Rishon that you didn't take Truma from. Or Meiser Sheni behegdish shloim niftu. You took Meiser Sheni that be'etzem you were meant to eat in Yerushalayim, or hektish, something that was consecrated, and be'etzem you are able to redeem it, swap it for money. You have to add a chaimish, as we'll soon see. You have to add a fifth, and then it becomes, so to speak, mundane, and you're allowed to use it for your private enjoyment and make a bracha. But if he didn't redeem it properly, einim mevarach, he doesn't make the bracha. Einim tzarich leimer machal nevelos. How much more so if you anger the Eibishter by eating nevelos or treifus, whether it's dead carcasses or it became treif by the way it was shechted. It's prohibited, goysha wine. For sure you don't make a bracha not before and after. Now what happens, we're going to see, there are brachas in which there are certain things that there are exemptions that are, in certain cases it's allowed to be eaten. For example, Chachamim said if you're buying fruits and vegetables from a poor person, from a person you're buying from a person that's not a chaver, and he doesn't know the halachas. Chachamim said you have to, again, if you're a chaver, you accept upon yourself, you're going to be on the caliber and that standard, you have to take again meiser. Trumas, whatever is you have to take again trumas and meisers. So this is called demai. You don't know that they didn't take trumas and meisers, but it's domai. What is this? You don't know. Even though Chachamim have exempt only poor people, Chacham said in the case of a poor person, we don't require he should take again. He doesn't know, so he's allowed to. Another example. Ma'aser Rishon, that you took truma, but it was a trick. The Levi took it before the kohen, and therefore he's not chayiv to give to the kohen. We said that if he took it, who should be sheikdima b'shibelin, he went and took it when it was still before it became chayiv trumos. Then the Levi came. You were yaitze truma, you were yaitze ma'aser Rishon to give the Levi, and you didn't have to give the kohen from that because it wouldn't become chayiv ma'aser Rishon yet. It's a loophole. Or ma'aser sheni hekdesh niftu, or ma'aser sheni second tithing, and something that was consecrated. It's hekdesh. However, it was redeemed, but not fully. I mean, they gave its value to hekdesh, or swapped it into money, so you'll take to Yerushalayim to eat the ma'aser sheni over there. You'll buy new food, but you didn't give the additional chaimish, the additional fifth that you were meant to add. In these cases, you do make a bracha roshana, bracha achrona, any of the similar cases, you will make a bracha if it's not an abomination. There's cases where it's mutter. Thank you so very much for being with us. Chabura, cruising through the entire Torah Shabbat Pet together with the Rambam, and I'll leave one parak a day. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Shabbos, good Shabbos.